For many newlyweds, a honeymoon is a time of love, adventure, and new beginnings. It's meant to be a magical experience, a celebration of a lifelong journey together. But for Christe Chen and Bradley Dawson, their romantic getaway to the luxurious Turtle Island resort in Fiji took a dark and devastating turn. What started as a fairy tale vacation ended in a horrifying crime that shocked both their families and the world. Christe Chen, a 36-year-old pharmacist from Denver, had always dreamed of a beautiful marriage. She was full of life, passionate about her career, and loved by those who knew her. Bradley Dawson, a 40-year-old IT specialist from Memphis, appeared to be the perfect partner. The couple tied the knot in early 2022 and soon set off to an exclusive island resort for what should have been the happiest days of their lives. But just 2 days into their honeymoon, something went terribly wrong. In the quiet, secluded paradise of Turtle Island, a violent encounter would shatter the illusion of love and leave one of them dead. This is the chilling story of betrayal, violence, and justice, a case that left an entire community in shock and a grieving family searching for answers. What really happened in that honeymoon suite? What led to the tragic events that unfolded on the night of July 9, 2022? And how did a romantic escape turn into a crime scene? Let's dive deep into the case of Christe Chen and uncover the horrifying truth behind her untimely death. If you found this story compelling and want to see more real-life crime cases, subscribe to latest true crime stories. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Christe Chen was known for her kindness, intelligence, and ambition. Friends and family described her as a warm-hearted woman who had a passion for helping others. She had a successful career, loved to travel, and enjoyed an active social life. Christe's dream was to build a happy family, and when she met Bradley Dawson, she believed she had found the perfect partner to share her future with. And Bradley Dawson, an IT specialist from Memphis, appeared to be a loving and charming man. He worked in the nonprofit sector, and on the surface, he seemed to share Christe's love for adventure and travel. However, those close to the couple later revealed that there were hidden tensions beneath the surface. Christe and Bradley's romance moved quickly. They met, fell in love, and within months they were engaged. Their whirlwind relationship led to a wedding in early 2022, with family and friends celebrating their union. While some saw them as a happy couple, others wondered if they had truly taken the time to understand one another before making such a lifelong commitment. After their wedding, the couple planned a luxurious honeymoon to Turtle Island, an exclusive private island resort in Fiji. Known for its breathtaking beaches and secluded villas, the resort was a dream destination. It was meant to be the perfect setting for their love story to continue. But instead, it became the place where everything fell apart. As they arrived in Fiji, Christe and Bradley looked like any other happy newlyweds. But beneath the surface, hidden cracks in their relationship would soon come to light, leading to a tragic and violent end that no one could have predicted. What was supposed to be a dream honeymoon in paradise quickly turned into a nightmare. Christe Chen and Bradley Dawson checked into Turtle Island, an exclusive and picturesque resort in Fiji, known for its pristine beaches and luxury accommodations. Guests often describe it as a secluded getaway for couples seeking romance and relaxation. But for Christe, it would become the site of her tragic final moments. On the night of July 8, 2022, witnesses reported hearing loud arguments coming from the couple's private villa. Staff members later recalled that there had been signs of tension between Christe and Bradley in the days leading up to the incident. What started as a minor disagreement allegedly escalated into a heated confrontation that spiraled out of control. At some point during the night, things took a violent turn. Authorities say that Bradley brutally attacked Christe inside their honeymoon suite, inflicting fatal injuries. The exact details of what transpired remain chilling. Christe suffered severe head trauma, multiple blunt force injuries, and broken bones. The brutality of the attack suggested a fit of uncontrollable rage rather than an accident. Instead of calling for help, Bradley Dawson fled the scene. He left the villa on foot, abandoning his wife's lifeless body behind. Reports indicate that he was later found several miles away, wandering on a different part of the island. When resort staff and police confronted him, he was disheveled and refused to explain what had happened. At first, Bradley denied any involvement in his wife's death. He claimed that he and Christe had been drinking and enjoying their honeymoon, but when questioned further, his story became inconsistent. Eventually, his attempts to avoid responsibility unraveled, as law enforcement uncovered the horrifying truth inside their villa. The next morning, resort staff entered the couple's villa after noticing that Christe had not been seen for hours. What they found was deeply disturbing. Christe was unresponsive, and the room showed clear signs of violence. Medical examiners later confirmed that she had died from traumatic head injuries, and the crime scene suggested a struggle had taken place. What had started as a luxurious honeymoon had now become a murder scene. The once happy newlyweds were now at the center of an international crime, and authorities wasted no time in securing the evidence needed to bring Christe's killer to justice. In the aftermath of Christe Chen's tragic death, the once idyllic honeymoon destination turned into a crime scene. Resort staff, stunned by the horrifying discovery, immediately contacted local authorities. Turtle Island, known for its exclusivity and high-profile clientele, had never witnessed such a gruesome event, and now the brutal murder of a newlywed woman shattered its peaceful reputation. As news of the incident spread, guests and employees were left in shock. Many had seen Christe and Bradley together just days before, appearing like any normal couple enjoying their honeymoon. But now the same man who had exchanged vows with her was missing, and she lay lifeless in their villa. Rather than reporting what had happened or seeking medical help for Christe, Bradley Dawson fled the scene. He left the luxurious villa on foot, attempting to escape the island's remote setting. His actions raised immediate suspicion. Why would an innocent man run? Bradley was eventually found miles away on a neighboring island, trying to evade capture. Locals reported seeing him behaving strangely, and when confronted by authorities, he refused to provide a clear explanation for his wife's death. He claimed that he had simply left the villa after an argument, but his disheveled appearance and inconsistent statements only made him appear guiltier. Fijian police wasted no time in taking Bradley Dawson into custody. He was formally arrested on suspicion of murder and transported back to the main island for questioning. During his initial interactions with law enforcement, Bradley maintained a vague and evasive stance, refusing to give a full account of what had transpired that night. Authorities, however, had already gathered compelling evidence against him. The injuries sustained by Christe were severe, pointing to a violent and intentional attack. Forensic experts determined that she had suffered multiple blunt force injuries, including fractures, indicating a brutal assault rather than an accident or self-defense situation. As news of the arrest broke, shockwaves rippled through the United States. Christe's family, devastated and heartbroken, struggled to comprehend how a joyful honeymoon had ended in murder. Friends described her as a kind-hearted woman with a promising future, making the tragedy even more difficult to process. Meanwhile, Bradley's actions painted a disturbing picture. Why had he fled? Was this a crime of passion, or had there been signs of violence in their relationship before? These questions fueled intense public interest, with many demanding justice for Christe. With Bradley Dawson now in police custody, the legal proceedings began. Fijian authorities charged him with murder, and he was held without bail as he awaited trial. Prosecutors prepared to present their case, relying on forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and Bradley's suspicious behavior in the aftermath of the crime. As the investigation continued, one thing became clear. This was not just a tragic accident. It was a brutal, calculated act of violence that had left a young woman dead and a family forever grieving. The world now turned its attention to the courtroom, where Bradley Dawson would soon face justice for his horrifying crime. Following his arrest, Bradley Dawson was officially charged with the murder of his wife, Christe Chen. Prosecutors built their case on strong forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and Dawson's own suspicious behavior, including his failed attempt to flee the crime scene. The Fijian judicial system, known for its swift handling of serious crimes, moved forward with hearings to determine the next steps in his prosecution. During initial court appearances, Dawson remained expressionless, occasionally glancing at the press and the spectators. His legal team attempted to argue that the incident was an accident, but the severity of Christe's injuries contradicted any such claim. Prosecutors countered this by detailing the violent nature of her death, highlighting evidence that suggested a sustained and brutal attack. The prosecution presented a compelling case, emphasizing forensic evidence. Autopsy reports showed that Christe suffered multiple blunt force injuries, including fractures, ruling out any possibility of an accident. Crime scene analysis, blood patterns, and the condition of the Honeymoon villa indicated a struggle, suggesting that Christe had tried to defend herself. Dawson's behavior, his decision to flee rather than seek medical assistance or report the incident, was used as evidence of guilt. Motive and relationship history. Investigators explored possible signs of past abuse or controlling behavior that may have led to the deadly confrontation. The prosecution argued that Dawson's actions were deliberate and that he should face the maximum punishment under Fijian law. Dawson's defense attorneys faced an uphill battle. They attempted several legal strategies, including the defense claimed that the confrontation escalated unexpectedly and that Dawson had not intended to kill his wife. They tried to cast doubt on the forensic analysis, suggesting that Christe's injuries could have been sustained in a fall or accident. At one point, the defense hinted at emotional distress or impaired judgment on Dawson's part, potentially laying the groundwork for a lesser charge. However, the overwhelming physical evidence paired with Dawson's escape attempt made these arguments weak in the eyes of the jury and public. The trial saw emotional testimonies from Christe's family and friends, who painted a picture of a young woman full of life and dreams. They pleaded for justice, expressing their devastation over her brutal death. The courtroom atmosphere was heavy, with many unable to hold back tears as they listened to the details of her final moments. Meanwhile, Dawson's demeanor fluctuated. At times he appeared cold and detached, while at other moments he seemed overwhelmed. The media closely followed every twist and turn, making this case widely discussed both in Fiji and internationally. After weeks of testimonies, forensic reports, and legal arguments, the moment of truth arrived. The jury deliberated carefully, considering all the evidence presented. In the end, the weight of the prosecution's case was undeniable. Bradley Dawson was found guilty of murder. When the verdict was read, Christe's family broke down in tears, relieved that justice had been served. However, the pain of losing their daughter remained immeasurable. The judge, condemning Dawson's actions as senseless and cruel, handed down a severe sentence, ensuring he would face the full consequences of his crime. As Dawson was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, the case reached its legal conclusion. Yet for Christe's loved ones, the impact of her tragic death would never fade. As the courtroom fell silent, the judge delivered a scathing rebuke of Bradley Dawson's actions. Calling the murder a senseless and brutal act, the judge emphasized the calculated nature of the crime, highlighting Dawson's failed attempt to escape rather than seek help for his wife. The court took into account the overwhelming forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and Dawson's contradictory statements throughout the trial. The judge ultimately sentenced Dawson to life in prison, ensuring he would face the maximum punishment under Fijian law. The ruling was a significant moment in the case, offering some measure of closure to those who had followed the trial closely. The sentencing triggered an emotional response from everyone in the courtroom. Chen's family members broke down in tears, relieved that justice had been served, but devastated that nothing could bring their beloved daughter back. They described the ruling as a step toward closure, though the pain of their loss remained. Dawson, on the other hand, showed little emotion as the sentence was read. Some courtroom observers noted that he appeared resigned to his fate, while others described him as indifferent. His defense team quickly announced plans to file an appeal, arguing that the sentence was too harsh and that Dawson had not received a fair trial. The case had gained widespread attention, not just in Fiji but also in the United States. Many followed every development, outraged by the violent nature of the crime. Social media erupted with strong reactions, some expressing relief that Dawson received the maximum punishment, while others debated the effectiveness of the justice system in handling domestic violence cases. True crime communities dissected the case, discussing possible warning signs that may have been ignored before the murder. Advocates for domestic violence awareness used Christe's story to highlight the dangers of toxic and abusive relationships, urging others to recognize red flags before it's too late. Christe's parents, still grieving their tragic loss, released a heartfelt statement following the sentencing. They expressed gratitude to the court for holding Dawson accountable and to everyone who had supported them through the painful legal process. However, they also acknowledged that no sentence could ever truly bring justice for the horrific way Christe's life was taken. Her family vowed to honor her memory by raising awareness about domestic violence and the dangers of unchecked aggression in relationships. They encouraged victims to seek help at the first signs of abuse, hoping to prevent similar tragedies from happening to others. Despite the conviction, Dawson's legal team quickly set the groundwork for an appeal. They argued that the trial had been unfair and that Dawson had been portrayed as a cold-blooded killer without enough consideration for his state of mind at the time of the crime. Legal experts, however, believed that an appeal was unlikely to succeed, given the strength of the prosecution's case. With the sentencing complete, the case of Christe Chen's tragic honeymoon murder reached its legal conclusion. However, the emotional impact of her death would linger on, serving as a cautionary tale about the dark side of toxic relationships. The case of Christe Chen's brutal murder at the hands of her husband, Bradley Dawson, is a chilling reminder of how love can turn deadly when control, violence, and unchecked aggression enter a relationship. What was supposed to be a joyous honeymoon in paradise quickly turned into a horrific crime scene, leaving behind a shattered family and a stunned community. The trial and sentencing may have delivered legal justice, but for Christe's loved ones, no punishment could ever undo the pain of losing her so tragically. Her family continues to mourn, cherishing the memories of her kindness, ambition, and loving nature. In the wake of her death, they have committed themselves to raising awareness about the warning signs of domestic violence, hoping to prevent similar tragedies in the future. Bradley Dawson now faces the reality of life behind bars, a stark contrast to the privileged life he once lived. His appeal efforts may continue, but the overwhelming evidence against him has left little doubt in the minds of the public and legal experts about his guilt. His actions not only destroyed a life, but also left a lasting impact on those who loved Christe. This case serves as a powerful cautionary tale, a reminder that domestic violence can exist behind even the most picture-perfect relationships. It highlights the importance of recognizing red flags, taking threats seriously, and seeking help when warning signs emerge. As this tragic chapter closes, the story of Christe Chen should not be forgotten. Her name will live on as a symbol of the fight against domestic violence, urging people to be more aware, more cautious, and more willing to speak out before love turns deadly.